you stumbled across this video, I've been actually mentioned this anime in one of my older videos about a year ago when I was talking about Companion. And this anime, in my opinion, has done something a lot of animes can do, but this one did it in a weird way because it's so underground and it's not super big among the anime community, but it is one of the most relevant stories in anime, even more now than it was 25 years ago. And the whole idea of Chobits is that it's like, what is the world like when artificial intelligence is more mobile, more ingrained into society? We're kind of heading in that direction, right? And what starts off as like this cute little sci-fi romance slowly turns into loneliness, technology, and emotional dependence. What separates real love from programmed behavior, and whether machines can truly have a heart, right? And the thing about showbiz is like it explores it in such a graceful, kind way, but still has that bittersweetness to it that I really enjoy in some of my stories. And the reason why I mentioned Chobits in my older video with Companion is because there's a lot of comparisons between the two. Companion might be one of the closest things I've seen American audiences get to Chobits. And with all that being said, right, there's like the thing about the series is like Hideki's just some guy from, I believe, Hiroshima moving into the city to go to college prep school. He's about 18, so it's actually a pretty interesting setting because we never really get college in anime. The only other anime I could think of where there's like college and that's the main setting, or at least part of the main setting, is Golden Time. But they're 18, so can be a little more mature without being a little strenuous for a minor. They struggle with some scenes of like fan service, but it was the early 2000s. What can you do with that, right? But it uses it in a way that's it's just hilarious. But he stumbles across the Persicom who is just lying in the street and discovering they're heavy as hell when they're off. Gets her back home, however the hell he does, pushes every button he possibly can to turn it on. Then he finally turns it on in the freakiest way possible. But then it is the sweetest, cutest thing I've ever seen with this Persicom. This Persicom has literally ruined my life because she is just the cutest thing, and you really can't find anything wrong with her. But she has like this innocent, sweet mystery to her because she's a Persicom, but she's clearly not like the others. And you go into this story thinking like, well, it's just a cute little Persicom. It's kind of got a little Pikachu face with the little ears and the long ass hair. But then turns out she is a special kind of Persicom that can actually possess feelings and free will, which most other Persicoms can't do. The other Persicoms are just robots. They're just mechanical beings capable of just normal everyday work. And it has like that soft, dreamy, romantic tone about it with the human and the Persicom, and they live together. But he stumbled across one with these philosophical themes. And one of the things that I remembered most about Chobits, I own it. It was like one of the first DVDs I ever bought for myself. And I think it was like $21 for the whole thing. And I can tell you how old this is because I don't know if you guys remember those like anime classics. Like, remember there's like the little animes back then, like the early 2010s, where they were considered anime classics, and they had like the little box thing that you took off, and the DVDs were in there in the set. That I got those. Like I have that, and a lot of people who watch Chobits, well, I would say remember Chobits for like its beautiful art style, its early 2000s aesthetic, and just its themes about humans becoming emotionally attached to technology. And it's so funny because the reason why I wanted to do this video is because today we're having this thing where everyone seems to be more attached to technology than we've ever been before. You see people walking around on their phones, you see people making money on stream, you see people using ChatGPT, which is literally artificial intelligence. You see artificial intelligence being used on Google searches and things like that. So AI has officially cemented itself into our society so already. And we're not at the point where we have Persicons, but we do have some kind of android robot type things over in certain countries. Even here, we just haven't seen him. Remember Elon Musk? Remember his little announcement with his little like robots and all that? And then you see Japan had like the android. This was a long time ago. It was like definitely like 15 years ago, maybe more than that, where they had the android that could like cry and be happy. So it's like we're here. We're at the Chobits point in society. I think it's not that far around the corner. See, Companion put us in that society where it was like they're already here. We can use them how we want to. More times than not, it's sexual because people just be like that. But Chobits, they do work. They go to the store. They take care of the kids, the pets, the house. They are used in everyday life and can do anything a normal person can do, which causes a lot of friction between the humans and the Persicons. Because the sad reality is there are people who got so attached to Persicons they didn't acknowledge the person they were married to as around anymore. That's sad. That is really sad. And there are some people who are jealous of a Persicon because someone was in love with one and they might like that person, but this person's in love with the Persicon and not them because the Persicons are built attractive. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not like overly done. Like they're not like super red scaly drawn, which is nice. And the show just does this thing to me where like I can always go back to Chobits. Honestly, I've seen Chobits definitely more than 4 times. And it's not a top 10 for me, but it's one of those like comfort animes where I can just kind of go back and watch it and be like, man, I just really like this series. But it holds up. I would say Chobits is more important today than it was 25 years ago. I would say Chobits is one of those animes that I think people are going to look back on in well regard because it has pretty much predicted the future. It pretty much predicted the future, and it's such a beautiful series. I love the animation. The animation is clean, smooth as hell. Obviously, you could see that it's older just by the art style alone, and then the animation, because anime now is like holy hell. But that's part of the charm. That's part of the charm of Chobits is the time it came out and how innovative it was for the time it came out. Like, be honest, when the manga came out, the internet being a public access was only around for like 5 years. I think the manga was like 2000, and I can't be right here, but I think the anime was more like 2002 than 2001. But I'm still going to do it this way because I just think 25 is a better number than like 24. So, at a time when personal computers were just becoming common, at a time where like the idea of like human shaped computers were like imaginative. But 2 decades later, the question for Chobits is can humans really detach from technology and live amongst technology without being immersified in it? And I think we got an answer. And the answer is no. We are walking down the streets, buried in our phones, potentially about to die sometimes because we're not paying attention or we're stuck on ChatGPT, which I think is useful, right? ChatGPT is an incredible tool if you want to use it for like coding and like, making your words sound better than how you said it. You know what I mean? But I think Chobits, like we have an answer. Like it's no. But the other side of Chobits that I think people miss was like, which is the more open part, is the like emotional relationships that people have with each other, with Persicons, and with themselves. And one of the deepest questions in Chobits is like humanity. Like, what really defines you as being human anymore? Because Chi can feel things, Chi can have emotions like a person. And eventually, by the end of the series, Chi goes from a pretty much like a 1 year old in a Persicon's body to like very much aware of her own actions. She absorbs lessons, absorbs information, and implements it. It takes a while, but it ends up working. Learning how to speak, learning how to go to the store, learning how to buy her own clothes, wear her own clothes, change her clothes, things like these things happen, even to the point where she starts to kind of feel love towards somebody. So Chi is, how do I explain Chi? She's definitely more of a AI android than more of the other Professor Coms. Like the other Professor Coms can't do what Chi does. So there's that. Even though there's a guy who marries a Persicom, but the Persicom, it's not clear anymore. Maybe that Persicom was special, but it wasn't really explanatory. But Chi learns about the world, and Chi learns about love through Hideki. It's computers were just mostly tools to us at that point in 2000, 2001, 2002. Computers were just tools to us. But in 2025, computers are pretty much 2025, 2026, this era. In that era, in 2000, when the series was done, computers were people. Computers were philosophical individuals that just shaped the way humanity was moving forward at that time. But we weren't even close to that in 2000. So I don't know if the art, the person who created the series, like just knew. The person just knew. But if we're gonna go down the character list, you have Hideki, who's the main character. You have Chi, who's the other main character, and also just the marketing tool for the series because she's freaking adorable. You have Shimbo, who's his next door neighbor, who is also a good friend. You have Sumomo, which is his Versacom, but smaller. You have Miss Hibiya, Takako Shimizu. You have Yumi, who I thought was attractive when I was younger. I don't know, I had it bad for Yumi when I was younger, probably because she had the big titties, but whatever. Eventually, Kotoko becomes a part of the cast. We get a lot of people that show up in the show. Um, my man Kokobunji, yo, my man Kokobunji, rich millionaire kid who has a bunch of Persicoms, and one Persicom resembles his sister that passed away. And all of these characters have some part of their lives affected by a Persicom to some degree. And predictability over machines, the the predictability of the machines is not really clear because sometimes the Persicom will do something and you'll be like, well, we programmed her to do that, but then there's some Persicoms, like I said, like Chi, and even there's two other Persicoms that just move independently from whatever programming they had. And you stop and think like, well, damn, this is deep. Like, and there's a big thing that happens at the end of the series that I think people should watch to find out what happens because I don't want to spoil it. But it was probably the most logical direction the series could have ended because it's not a long series. It's only about 24 episodes, and the manga's short too. And it does exactly what it needs to do. So, looking back on the series, the most impressive aspect maybe its foresight. It captured a moment when society was beginning to integrate digital technology into daily life and asked questions on a philosophical thing of like more urgent in like these last 2 decades that's come since. In a world now that's like shaped by AI conversations, digital relationships, and constant technological connectivity, the themes of Chobits, it just feels less like speculation and more like an early reflection on where we as people, modern society, would be today. And that's the authentic reality of the series. It's beautiful. And I do think people should watch it because I think people are more willing to pay attention to what it's saying now than when we were back then. To me as a kid, it was just a funny, you know, dude who had a Persicom who he was kind of into, but was scared because it was kind of like a child, but also damn, but then also he couldn't get no biddies because he was too nice. But the hoes always had other dudes. It was That's how I looked at Jobs. It's just kind of like a slice of life, and I didn't look at the philosophical aspects. But now I look at it as like this really deep intellectual property that people just didn't really like people didn't appreciate it. I feel like Chobits is one of those animes, like I said, it's going to be more well regarded in the next couple of years, if not already, because of how important the storytelling was at the time. So that's like a 25-year perspective on Chobits is, I think it's going to stand the test of time. And people are going to look back on it and be like, damn, bro, damn. So, let me know how you guys feel about Chobits down below. If you guys have seen the series, let me know if you liked it. If you guys haven't seen the series, let me know if you plan on watching it. I recommend it. I think it's a good watch. I think it's a fun watch. I think you get a little bit of the awes, but you get a little bit of the dams at the same time. You know what I mean? But that's how I feel about it. And I think I might do another video, like a full video, where like I explain how Chobits and Companion actually are like very, very similar. So, with that being said, thanks for sitting through this whole video. If you made it this far, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you all in the next one.